first. Welcome to Ukraine Update with the Shills. As the world watches a new war erupt between Israel and Iran, Putin declares he wants all of Ukraine and unleashes the largest drone and missile assault of the war. Over 920 air attacks in 1 week, targeting homes, power stations, and civilians. Trump wants multiple Nobel Peace Prizes now, while we sit on the edge of World War III. But we'll know for sure in about 2 weeks. Meanwhile, the State Department and White House have erased all references to the 1994 Budapest Memorandum, the deal where Ukraine gave up the world's third largest nuclear arsenal in exchange for U.S. security guarantees. This is betrayal, it's revisionism, it's a retreat from responsibility. Zelensky is at the G7, demanding patriots and ammunition, reminding the free world of its duty. Ukraine is fighting for the world's most evil regime and keeping Europe safe at night. Reminder, Putin doesn't escalate when we help Ukraine. He escalates when we don't. You're watching Ukraine Update with the Shills, where Russian propaganda gets obliterated, fascists get roasted, and freedom always drops the mic. I'm Slavie, your co-host. Let's say hello to the host of the Shills. Hi, Dick. How's it going?
It's going okay. Yeah, lots to unpack today and so on. Definitely lots going on in other areas and in America and stuff. I mean, you literally have to be live 24/7 to keep up.
Yep. As I like to call this, it's a Trumpster fire here in America.
Very much so.
But I'm sure glad that we have Commander Macmillan on the panel today. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Great.
I hope you got a glass of water, Commander, because I think you'll be speaking some today.
Yes, for sure. I know I have a lot of questions. Also on the panel, we have Rudy from Rudy's Reaction. How's it going? Welcome.
It's going good. Just trying to survive this heat in this hot summer here in Phoenix. But and it feels like forever since I've been on. It's been I think like a month. So
yeah.
Guys.
Rudy, are you guys feeling that heat dome hitting already now?
Oh my God. Out here it's like the other day I think it was 113.
Oh wow, man. Yeah. We had it last week. We were in like 41 Celsius, which is, stupid in freedom units, right? It's like 113 or some crap. Yeah, man.
Yeah, here in California too. Huge heat wave.
Yeah. I think California's getting pretty hot too, but in Phoenix it is ridiculously hot. Arizona, yeah.
Oh, so
Dick and I are suffering in the 80s.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
How hot does it get for you out there, Dick?
Our
a hot day for you.
Our hot day for us is 42 Celsius in our peak, and that's way over 100. I'm pretty sure, right? Anybody out there do that fast? 42 C in F, 107. So yeah, we get around 107, 108 Fahrenheit is our peak here.
Yeah.
So you guys are even higher than that. Wow. Yeah.
That's very rare though, Dick.
Yeah.
For us to get up that high. Typically 85 is, unusually warm up here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be as hot as it is where I live, but I live in this weird little microclimate where without humanity, I'd actually be in a desert in Canada. I know it's weird, but it exists. Once I found it, man, it's so nice and warm here with my somewhat aging, ill working body. Oh, I love the heat, man. I just was like, oh, this is heaven. I'm staying forever.
Well, I'd take the heat over the cold any day, but
yeah.
Cold. I can't. I'm not a cold person.
I'm the other way around because when it's cold, you can always get warm, but when it's hot, can't really do anything about it.
You could jump in a pool.
Let's say there's no pool around, though.
Well, that's impossible in my town because it's only like population 30,000. It's just a small valley town, and we've got beaches on either side. We're surrounded by lakes in the valley, so there's always a place to cool off. That's nice. Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm in Los Angeles. on the Pacific, but where I'm at, it's like a bowl of heat. So it's you have to go over the hill to get to the ocean, and
Yeah.
Yeah, at least in California, you guys aren't that far away from an ocean.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah. But I gotta say, we're lucky though on the West Coast because it's not humid here. It's pretty dry. So
Yeah.
where it gets humid, that's pretty gross.
Mm. So where do you guys want to all start off today? You know,
where do we start?
No, go for it. Go for it, Slavie.
Oh no, go ahead. I was just
No, I was gonna say, I'm not sure. I've been busy in the past week and everything like that, but oh my god, 1 second.
Crazy dog.
I'll go. Well, Russia hammers Kiev over this past week. One attack is 175 Shaheds and 16 missiles. And this happened while G7 met. 30 people were killed and 134 were wounded. Largest attack of this war, and it's only getting worse.
Mm-hmm. My concern right on the back of that would be that with Israel and everything going on, is America going to be even more reluctant to, the defense systems are very much needed for the city or the cities, and
well,
they already how that could play out.
They already rerouted what was supposed to go to Ukraine from United States to Middle East. And there's a reason why they took down the Budapest memorandum from the website, because they're backing out. That much is clear.
Yeah,
I think it's been decided already. So.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations, Commander, where the decision's made, but they're gonna release the information slowly, so they let the other things be the shockers everybody gets concerned about, right?
Yep, exactly. No, I think the big issue for Israel is that Iron Dome isn't made to intercept ballistic missiles.
Oh.
Yeah,
Iron Sling
is made to intercept rockets and mortar shells and such that are coming across from relatively short range. But long-range missiles, which go way up and then come way down at very high speeds, Iron Dome can't deal with that. Now, the Israelis do have some THAAD and Patriot batteries that we sold them, but you need to have those in the right locations, and you need to have enough missiles to use. And that is a supply that will run out very quickly, since that's one of the primary means that Iran is using to strike Israel.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I think Iran already hit a hospital in Israel, I believe in Haifa. I could be wrong. But yeah, and unfortunately, I was reading the story. There was a Ukrainian girl in that hospital that got away from the war in Ukraine. She was getting a cancer treatment, young girl, maybe 5 years old. And they took her, they got her. Yeah.
Wow.
Just to jump back to what Commander McMillan was just saying, I think they have the Iron Dome and then David Sling, which is the second layer of air defense systems that is supposed to be protected from ballistic missiles. I think they have like 3 different layers of air defense for Israel, but obviously they all haven't been able to stop all the ballistic missiles in at least from any.
Yeah, I hear the percentage getting through is like quite a bit higher than anybody would have thought, because it was supposed to be the impenetrable thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the most devastating things for Israel too is that the country's so tiny, it's so small. My stepfather used to work in Israel, and he said from the bottom of it to the top is like 4 hours away. So it's not that big of a country, so they take a lot more damage. But
yeah, I think it's a longer drive to get from south to North Vancouver Island. You know.
Yeah.
There's a thing out. I just got it here. If this website would stop with the pop-ups, it's getting out of hand these days. But Putin is basically saying, that economic forum that where he's actually speaking. He's come right out and said, all of Ukraine is ours.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, right.
I think that's the first time I've heard him outright say, this isn't about, trying to, and people wanted it and all that other crap we've heard over time. I think that's the first time I've heard him outright just admit it. No, this is mine and I'm taking it.
Well, we've heard this narrative before. Now it's back that we are one people. Obviously, you don't try to wipe out if we are one people, but this narrative has been floating around since 2014.
Yeah.
Well, must up be doing that to your own people then.
Unbelievable.
Putin also decided to weigh in and help with the Iran and Israel war to mediate it. And Trump said, "Yeah, actually did a good job with a clapback." Trump said, "Do me a favor, Vladimir, mediate Russia first."
I saw that.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that's funny. Orange shit Gibbon finally got one in that people could agree with.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah. There's Zelensky says that Russia repatriated 20 of its own dead soldiers in one of the recent exchanges. I thought the exchanges were only for, folks that can walk out of there. I found that interesting.
That's good.
It's really a horrific story because the bodies that Russia gives back, the parts are mixed up and they do it on purpose so they can't identify. It's really brutal and story, but yeah, really butchered like parts of the body. And yeah.
Oh, no war crimes there. I mean, come on, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. We should give a little mention to our. Oh, go ahead there, Rudy. I think you got a little lag on us.
No, go for it. No. Sorry, go for it.
Yeah.
Do I? Okay.
Yeah. You might just want to rejoin. It feels like you're getting some real lag. I can totally tell. We've got the Car for Ukraine fundraiser going. Well, a little slower this time. We got €300 in the pot so far. There is a link in the description if you're not in the live chat, and there's also going to be a link in the live chat. We've got our Ko-Fi link in the live chat. You can always just throw it to us, and we can just put it in the pot at the end of the show. It's however you want to play it. The total of the campaign is 151,000 so far, and it's cruising along really well. I'll flip back and show you the other people involved here in a minute. This web browser, I'm going to restart it. It's acting up.
By the way, thank you to Canada, because after G7, they allocated $2 billion to Ukraine.
Yeah.
So thank you.
That's quite a count of cash for us, too. We're not exactly the richest group of people in the world.
I mean, you guys are getting there. It's going to be much better than, United States at this moment right now. And definitely Canada is up there being the leader of the free world.
Yeah. Yeah, there is some there's some strong leadership coming out of our new guy Carney as well. You can see it in our right-wing media, like the National Post, I believe. There's just outright panic because there's not a lot to pick on. So they're having to explode every tiny little thing they can find. It's desperate already. I like it.
Yeah, it reminds me of a certain group. That,
never heard that playbook, right? A couple of shout outs we can do here. We got Niles G coming in with 10 gifted Shills memberships. Huge. Very cool. Thanks, Niles. Love the gifted memberships around here, do we? And Pethra Olsen came in with 269 Swedish kroners with love to Ukraine and with love thou shall be sent. Thank you there as well, Pethra. Thank you very much indeed. What the hell's going on? I can't. YouTube won't let the Shills thumb up the super chat. You know how you can click thumbs up on it? I'm not allowed to. What the hell? I know YouTube kind of doesn't like us the most, but that's taking it a little far, guys, don't you think? You know?
Just a tad.
Thumbs up. Come on.
Yeah. And then I can come over here as well because we've got another one in. A Ko-Fi donation or Ko-Fi, whatever it's called there from UTV and Ham. $5 direct in. Slavie, Ukraine. Heroam Slava. Thank you very much, Ken. And we've got another one direct in from SSW Custom Sewing for the Boom Boom Fun. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Thank you, Slavie. Support Ukraine. Great words indeed. I do believe SSW Custom Sewing is also a mod on your channel there, Slavie.
Yes, absolutely. He does a fantastic job along with Tim Moments. So thank you guys. You guys are really great.
Cool. Awesome. So yeah, we're caught up here. Commander, anything you want to take us through and get into from the week's events?
Well, let's revisit the Iran-Israeli thing.
Mm-hmm.
A number of people have expressed concern that, well, this is a unique situation in that Iran doesn't actually have the bomb yet, while Israel does. So unlike all the other situations we've seen where both sides have nuclear weapons, in this we don't have that. So that kind of gives, they think, an incentive for Israel to use them now while they have that advantage. The issue there, I think, is that the advantage that using a nuclear weapon might provide Israel is quite limited. And in fact, there are many, many negative aspects to doing so. So I'm not that concerned that that would happen. Because first off, if Israel does do it, it's going to mobilize greater opposition to Netanyahu within his own country and globally. There would doubtless be some sort of repercussions internationally in terms of sanctions or
trade, for sure, right? Yeah, for sure.
Right, exactly. And finally, it doesn't really buy Israel anything substantial. Okay, so you take out one, weapons research site, or you nuke one city or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's, if anything, going to harden Iran's resolve to resist and to continue to counterstrike.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't bring you any closer to finding a settlement to this. And yeah, I know the number of casualties that Israel has actually admitted to at this point is ridiculously low. Even if you accept that number, it's still significant that Israel's under constant bombardment, and that's going to impact, the economy, that's going to impact national morale, etc. So crossing that nuclear threshold really seems to me to be a fool's errand. It doesn't achieve anything beneficial to Israel to doing so.
Do you see? Do you think Israel wants territory or anything out of this, or it's just beat the hell out of a neighbor that we're scared of?
I think when you really get down to it, the reason this strike that the Israelis initiated They're claiming it's, in retaliation for the October 7th attack or whatever.
Right.
The reality is it has a lot more to do with national domestic politics than it does anything else. Because Netanyahu's alliance, the Likud alliance, was on the verge of breaking up. A number of the other parties that are members of that coalition were withdrawing from it. And had they initiated a vote of no confidence, they had one vote more in the "we don't want Netanyahu anymore, let's flush him," than those who were for Netanyahu.
Right.
But by causing this war, it allows him to declare a crisis, which reverts them to a war cabinet as opposed to the normal peacetime cabinet. And the war cabinet is much smaller, and it's a very select number of people. And so you go from a -1 vote in the cabinet to a +2 vote in the cabinet. So it ensures he stays in power, which then translates to it ensures he doesn't go to prison because he's pending charges, which everybody says the evidence is overwhelming,
Right.
and he'll be, indicted and convicted. So I think that's the reason they began this. I don't think there's any territory they want to claim. I don't think it's necessarily that they want to break the back of Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the other organizations. I think this is explicitly and solely due to domestic political concerns within Israel to keeping Bibi on the throne.
And
Definitely not a fan of his.
Not too many people are.
yeah.
I don't think too many people like that guy.
Have you seen on YouTube? Oh my gosh, the Israeli lobby is so strong. Every YouTube commercial that I get, it's Bibi's voice coming on and explaining to Americans why we should bomb Iran. Do you guys see that, or is it just me?
Can you imagine an advertisement like that coming on during a Walter Cronkite news broadcast?
Mind-boggling.
Yeah. But as I understand, to bomb the nuclear facilities, they need United States. Israel cannot do it by themselves because the facility is really below earth. And
yeah, it's basically dug into a mountain.
Right.
They say they need the U.S. because we have the GBU-57 deep penetrator weapon. That has definitely some potential use in this scenario if we were to go in on the Israeli side. But Israel also has its own deep penetrator weapons. They're not as big. They probably don't go down as far, but they can still do something. I think what they're really looking for is if the U.S. comes in on Israel's side, that it gives what they're doing a sense of legitimacy. Because right now, they don't really have that. They have, we're attacking Iran because we don't like Iran, because Iran may have provided support to Hamas or something. The linkage and the outrage from that is minimal. But if you get the U.S. in, all of a sudden, all those claims get amplified. And, oh, yeah, the U.S. is involved because of the horrible things Israel or Iran has done to Israel with backing the terrorists. So I think that's one of the reasons they're really pushing that message on social media right now is they want enough pressure applied to the White House to go, okay, we need to intervene. Because, as we said earlier, Trump did his usual, well, we'll have an answer in 2 weeks kind of thing, which effectively is his, Trump speak for, I'm not going to do it, but I'm not going to admit that. I'll say 2 weeks, and in 2 weeks, you'll have all forgotten about what I just said. And God, who
I think
it was
every now and then 2 weeks also stands for Miller hasn't told me what to do yet. So come back and talk to me later.
well, yes, not yesterday, Thursday on Downtime with Nick. He started his stream with a series of vignettes taken from news, so they're all real, of Trump saying, in 2 weeks, we're going to do this. In 2 weeks, this is going to happen. I promise in 2 weeks, we'll have this in effect. And every one of them is a case of, nope, none of them actually came to fruition. So that's where we stand here. The only issue I see is that we have moved substantial military force into the region. So that in turn suggests that they are still realistically considering intervention. The decision hasn't been made, but the capability is present, and it costs a lot of money to move all those forces into theater.
I bet.
So you're kind of at a situation where the momentum of moving those forces just takes over, and you sort of stumble into joining an armed conflict.
Trump is really stuck in a sticky spot now because here the polling shows that only 52 to 60% of Americans oppose the war, and only 16% support striking Iran.
Yeah.
So
He promised no wars.
Yeah.
He also promised no wars. Yeah.
Yeah. He's even got some of his own Magites getting mad right now because
That
it's
was
not
2 weeks
America
ago,
first. Eh?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That promise of no wars, that was 2 weeks ago, so it doesn't matter anymore.
That's funny.
I think one of the biggest indicators, though, that it might happen is the B-2 Spirit.
Yeah.
Two of them apparently had headed out to Guam, I believe. So those are the only jets that could drop those munitions or whatnot.
Yeah, the GBU-57, it's the only plane that can do it.
Yeah.
They have actually an even bigger penetrator, but that one has to be carried by a transport aircraft, and they literally roll it out the back.
Oh my
So
God.
the accuracy
imagine what
might be a
those
little
look like?
questionable.
That's funny.
I think also everyone is talking about right now, how close was Iran to having nukes? By the way, it is Russia that's building these nukes. Russian scientists and everything are in Iran, so axis of evil. But were they close, like Trump thinks they are, or?
Well, Netanyahu has been saying they're about to have nukes, just like Trump uses 2 weeks, man. It's been since 2012, right?
Yeah.
Intel assessments back when the original treaty deal that they would not pursue nukes went into effect, the one that Trump canceled.
Yeah.
That one, the assessment was that they were between 6 to 12 months away from having a weapon ready. Now, I don't doubt for a moment that they've considered or considerably moved forward from there. They would have done clandestine research and everything to bringing that to fruition. They won't have actually started assembling the bombs because that would have violated. But the moment Trump negated that treaty, it was game on, dudes. And so they've been working night and day to try to achieve that. I don't think it's so much that Iran wants to have nukes so they can use them. It's to act as a counterfoil to anybody trying to take out the regime.
Right.
That makes
So,
sense.
you know, if you attack us, we'll nuke you. That's the implied thing. Because the only realistic target they would use these against would be Israel. And we know Israel already has nuclear weapons. So,
Well, they're also now threatening if United States gets involved, then Iran is threatening United States territory as well.
yeah.
I don't know if they have those kind of capabilities, but
They don't have a delivery system to get it there. short of like putting it in the back of a civilian airliner or putting it on a ship and having that go into harbor and detonating it then, because they don't have missiles or aircraft that have the range capability to strike at the
So
continental
it'll be
United States.
more of like a suicide bomber terrorist
Exactly.
Yeah.
not like what Russia is doing to Ukraine.
Right. But theirs are going to be first generation weapons. So they're fairly bulky. So it's not, you can't put it in your briefcase and walk into the Twin Towers or something. You have to put it in the back of a very big truck.
Yeah. We've got some questions that we should get to here. There's one thing I wanted to bring up here. There's a report out, Spiegel magazine, or news magazine in Germany. The German military now considers Russia an existential threat. Thank you very much. To both their country and Europe. That is how they see them now.
Yeah, I mean they are. They've been enemies now,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
sabotaging and causing all this chaos in Europe.
Mhm.
And I mean, if Europe doesn't help Ukraine now, like enough with the sleepwalking, they're gonna have to pay with blood because I mean Putin's already building up troops now on the border with Estonia.
Yeah, this is part of that. That's in this report here. The German military say Russia is verifiably preparing for a conflict with NATO, strengthening forces in Western Russia at the borders with NATO. And if you read through it, they're not just monitoring, they're freaking concerned.
As they should be. They should be. Think a little bit more than concerned, actually. But at this point,
it's going to happen eventually.
Yeah, there's no way Russia's going to stop. This is all about, empire building. This is Alexander. This is, the whole bit.
Oh, yeah. There's no way Putin is stopping now. And there's no way that his own people will stop him. Even though I did see that Putin wants to mobilize again. Obviously, people are against it because there's really no gains after we're in the fourth year and Putin doesn't have any gains. Yeah, but we're not relying on Russians to do anything about it really at this point.
What the hell? Sorry, everybody. Just 1 second here because I don't believe my eyes.
Uh-oh.
But as we start, I realized I wasn't wearing my glasses because we got some questions in and I couldn't read them properly. But I'm looking at my usage numbers, like my computer CPU and GPU and everything. And I've been holding back on doing a Mac OS update to the newest version because I was uncertain about stability with the stream and the shows and all that. I just finally did it. And my computer is almost asleep now doing this. This is ridiculous.
I always wait until the very last minute to do the update until it just does it on its own.
Yeah. I was nervous about it, right? But it turned out to be great. It's drastically lowered usage on my GPU. Now my computer is barely even being used. So now I know for sure I got at least 3 or 4 more years out of this damn thing. That'll be good. Cost enough. I want my money's worth. So let's dig to a couple of questions here. Jen Consensus in the chat. This is pretty much to everybody, so jump in as you please. Why was G7 afraid to release a string statement condemning Russia after Trump said, I don't like it? Why did EU drop new sanctions when Trump says he does not support? Are they cowardly? I was surprised that the G7 didn't just collectively say, well, you're not here, so we're going to do our statement. And that's that. Don't care. That's how I would have done it. I figure Carney must have been that close because he seems like the kind of guy, He's one of the few people who will step up and say, just stop, Donald. I'll take the mic for you. And I love it.
Right.
He did.
Yeah.
He did, and they were doing a interview side by side. The first day of G7, and Carney stopped Trump from mumbling and going on, and he took kind of the lead and the reins.
Yeah.
Thank God. Someone needs to.
Yeah. It's funny. Carney's got such a background in finance, and Trump is a wannabe finance genius. And I think Trump is just literally intimidated by the man, because Carney can see through him, right?
I think
He wishes he was as smart as him.
Yeah.
I think he went to Harvard, Oxford, was the head of 2 central banks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty
impressive resume, but
Trump graduated from the Wharton School of Economics.
Yeah, where one of his professors
paying millions of dollars to get his diploma and not doing any of the work. But,
yeah, one of his professors called him the worst student he'd ever seen.
I believe it.
Second question here. Kellen Dunn. We're getting to the whole Ukraine thing. I know with the current events and stuff and what's going on, it's very hard not to, and I do believe that events with Israel and Iran are going to affect Ukraine because US is going to focus support there.
They are interwoven like this.
Yeah, unfortunately so. But how does the Iran thing impact Ukraine short term and long term? Well, short term, we've already seen the redirect of things that are supposed to go to Ukraine. And long term, I could see the Trump administration just pretty much forgetting about them because.
Also, whatever is promised now to Ukraine, it's going to substantially slow down the deliveries.
Yeah.
And and of course, the attention now more than ever, it's so important that people don't forget about Ukraine because that's what Putin wants. He wants people to look at Iran, look at a shiny new war, while I do horrendous things like amplify mass missile attacks on civilians and, does insanely horrific war crimes to Ukrainians.
He steps it up every time there's a diversion, distraction going on somewhere.
Well, as I like to say in the beginning, Putin doesn't escalate when we help Ukraine. He escalates when we don't.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And then Maggie Go in the chat says, what about regime change? That could be a question for Israel discussion. That could be Russia. I'd personally love to see Russia carved up into smaller states that could stand on their own. And maybe, that's what I think the end result has to be. But maybe that was Israel because 34. Yeah, that was posted like 12, 13 minutes ago. Easy. So I think they're close. Commander, what do you think?
What, for Israel changing regime?
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it changing regime. I would call it changing administrations. Regime change implies that you're completely dismantling the existing government structure, which would not happen with Israel. What Israel is trying to do is get rid of Netanyahu and bring in a new prime minister.
Right. Oh, okay. She's talking about Iran. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
That's what I would think too. Realistically, I don't see that happening. You need to send in strong forces to bring that, not aerial bombardment. You need to take ground. You need to drive on Tehran and seize power and eliminate the existing governmental structure in the country. There are opposition forces or opposition groups in Iran, but they are not unified. They do not necessarily agree with one another on anything other than we don't like the current government. People have been talking about, oh yeah, we're going to return the Shah's son, who I believe is living in LA right now, and he's going to reestablish the monarchy. You have to remember that the Iranian people overthrew the Shah's government because they hated it so much.
Right.
To the average Iranian today, bringing back the Shah is the furthest thing from their mind. That's not going to happen.
Right.
I think the only
And-
people that want King Reza Pahlavi, I think that's his name, to put him back are the Iranians that left Iran and are in United States. They're like dreaming,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we want to put our royalty back, and then I don't think that's any government that's gonna back putting a king on a throne. So.
It's like Russia after the end of World War I, where all these groups were talking about, oh yes, the Tsar's family is going to return and reestablish the monarchy. Yeah, that ain't going to happen. The Russian people were sick and tired of the monarchy. They don't want to see it back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's as likely as America just, giving up and cozying up with Britain again.
So
I do think that
going
the
back.
people, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, going back to the original question, regime change in Iran. I don't see that with the way the war is currently being prosecuted, even if the U.S. comes in, which means just more bombardment. I don't see that as being an achievable goal. To do it, you need to put troops on the ground. And
I don't know a lot about modern history, but in the history I kind of get into, like Egypt, Rome, and that kind of thing, successful conquering is boots on the ground and literally improving and saying, hey, look, you want to be a part of our thing and stuff. Otherwise, it just always goes sour, right?
Yep.
What
and
about
the other thing I can say for sure, having actually worked on the operations plan for potential war with Iran, the optimistic time frame for starting that to when you would take Tehran and hopefully achieve an overthrow of the regime was 3 to 5 years. That's the optimistic version. So, yeah,
I don't see them getting overthrown.
No, I agree with you. I don't think we want to stick our fist into that tar baby.
Right.
I think the people should do it. I mean, Ukraine did it. I do think like not somebody else overthrowing it, but the people should have an uprising, especially now that Iran, the mullahs are quite weak and they're already thinking of running away to Russia. Putin is trying to give them asylum or something. So they're weak now while the war is going on.
Yeah.
They are not popular in the cities. With the rural peasantry who constitute a majority of Iran's population, they are still very conservative and very religious. So the mullahs being the rulers to those people is a good thing. So you won't get a general uprising. You'll get, cities where the educated and well-off, the middle class, if you will, want to overthrow the regime to establish something that's better for them. But your average peasant out in the fields, it isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
I think this has done a good job actually of unifying Iran more than it is.
The bombing is actually playing in favor of the mullahs.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's an interesting take, but you can see it, right?
Anytime somebody attacks or gets involved in a war, people rally around the flag. They're very patriotic because suddenly your country is being threatened. It takes time, multiple years, before people begin to become disillusioned with that concept of rallying around the flag, the patriotism. Right now, Iran is in the start of this campaign, and thus far, Israeli strikes have been, for the most part, very targeted on military and industrial infrastructure. They haven't been hitting the cities. So the average person isn't, living in a threat situation where, oh my God, I could die from an inbound missile or drone. So they're not likely to feel a great deal of opposition to the government. They are, even if they don't like the government, they're still going to be prone to being more patriotic and rallying around the flag.
Really? I thought there's quite, because since the whole Masa Amini happened and the, killing of women and just, I thought people are turning on the mullahs, turning on the super religious.
Again, that's the urban populations.
Right.
And my understanding is that the urban-rural mix is about 30% urban, 70% rural for Iran.
Yeah, that would change it then. That would flip it over, right?
Yep.
For sure. So yeah, we got another visitor popping in a second here. I just drew a blank. I will I'll remind everybody again, we're doing the Car for Ukraine fundraiser. So grab the link and head on over and, join in the fun and all that kind of stuff. We'll try our best to get another vehicle in the mix and on the go here. And perfect timing. Nick's here.
Hello.
Yeah, on time, in time, Nick Shooter.
A little later in time.
Yeah.
So,
I heard regime change, and
Yeah.
that's a subject that's been important to me longer than I think anybody else on this panel by a significant margin. Probably about 5 years I've been for regime change ever since I first saw the situation. It was crystal clear to me that Dick is a figurehead and Dunk really is the one who should be in charge. He's funnier. He really knows what he's doing, and I've been waiting for a while, and we just haven't seen it happen, and I'm not sure it's ever going to happen. But there are, that's just my opinion.
There's going to be a coup. How's it going, Nick?
Going good. How about yourself?
Oh, good. We're just digging in and seeing what's going on here.
Because it's not like there's much news going on anywhere in the world.
Yeah, exactly. We're finding it hard to stay on topic and stuff because there's some tie-ins with what's going on here and there and so on, right?
Everybody, I've heard people say all the time, it's all connected. And to some extent, it is all connected. Of course, a butterfly flapping its wings in Japan and all. But having said that, it's getting more and more connected rapidly. And it's very hard to disentangle things at this point.
Yeah. You must feel like a loaded shotgun sitting around right now, just waiting for something to happen. Oh, we're going live again.
There is a little bit of that. It's a weird feeling. I've never gotten used to that feeling. I've had that feeling many times because we've been on air for 4 or 5 years now.
Mhm.
But it's sort of like, okay, there is, for multiple reasons, and Commander had was there when we had Brooks on, and he had asked the question, is anything stopping Israel from dropping a nuke on Tehran? And I think the short answer is no with a but. Long answer is yes with an if. And so it's, we're sitting there like, okay, I've got some of the best, and you're in the situation too, where you've got some of the best hardware available to go live instantly. You've got the mics, the cameras, everything, and you're just waiting, and like Trump's going to meet with his, national security cabinet, and maybe they're going to drop a bunker buster and or a tactical nuke because they can't get 300 feet under. And it's just sort of like, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna, you know what I'm gonna do? I mean, this is in a desperate moment. Now, I haven't had a drink in 10 years, This has been so stressful that I actually reached for that keyboard and said, I'm going to go on the Shills Live. And I just, that's how stressed I am.
Relapsed.
Relapse,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. You know, but when it gets to the point where you wake up in the morning, make coffee, sit down at your computer, and adjust your microphone, you know it's coming thick and fast.
Well, and that's the other thing. It's like I'm trying to schedule guests. We do regular shows just like you guys, and we're sitting there. But I'm sitting there going, okay, do I schedule the guest that wants to talk about how to train your puppy to stay off the couch? Which honestly people would kind of rather see right now because people are sick of all of this.
It's too much, right?
Yeah. Or do I bring the guest who's going to say, okay, I'm a nuclear engineer. I used to work at, here's how and why we're talking nukes. Here's what could happen if they, and I was just like, I don't know which guest to book.
Yeah. There's that's current event news, but I like bunnies.
Exactly. Well, we did. So that's why we ended our show. I don't know if you've seen this video, but we ended one of our more recent shows that was really serious. But we ended it with the cops pulling over this woman who had a warrant on her and was driving without a license. And she was living in squalor. The car was squalor. And she had a pet raccoon. And there was an actual meth pipe in the car. And they confiscated one. And the raccoon is trying to smoke the other one.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my God. And the cops, like, you know, just like, this is a great way to end a show on the end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of the state of the United States that all sums it up, that video.
Yeah, it's a raccoon smoking crack.
Oh, that's funny, man.
I do think that's a fair point.
You got to be light on the raccoon. He's, you know.
Yeah.
Well, he's a recovering Republican, right? So, you know.
Well, I think Slavie's got a point, which is I think that raccoon could probably do a better job as president.
Be more consistent.
Yeah, I will vote for crackhead raccoon over Trump any day.
Let's start making posters, people. Oh, that's funny. Let's see here. If you got any questions, throw them our way. We will get them all queued up in order and out to you.
I did ask a question. I don't know if it got asked in the 5 minutes that I was like prepping to get in here. But and Brooks had asked this question, and I've done some thinking on it. I've done some research on it. I suspect Commander has. But the question that Brooks had asked when he was on our show was, is there anything really stopping Israel? What are the repercussions going to be if Israel actually just drops a nuke in Iran? And initially, our consensus, I think, I don't want to speak for Commander, but our sort of thinking was, well, gee, we can't think of anything that's really going to stop them because Russia's not going to engage because Russia's got its own problems. Pakistan and India are nuclear powers. They could retaliate, but they've got no vested interest in this. China might consider, but they don't want to get involved. So as you start going down the list of nuclear nations, it's like, who is going to retaliate, how and why? And so we've been sort of thinking about what happens if the U.S. doesn't engage. Netanyahu wants to stay in power, so he says, okay, I'm going to wait till Iron Dome fails, which it's going to fail reasonably soon because they are almost out of ammunition. So my last estimate I saw, it's going to fail next week. Iron Dome fails. They still have the Patriots, but the Patriots, they don't want to fire a Patriot missile at a drone. The cost is not worth it.
Wow, yeah.
So you end up, instead of Israel, the death toll last I saw was 3 people. Iran, 400 and something. If Israel starts seeing the death tolls in the hundreds, there's going to be a call for Netanyahu to do something. If the U.S. hasn't done anything, my question is for the entire panel, but obviously Commander's, I think, the most qualified here. My question is, if we go down that scenario where the U.S. has not involved itself, and people are dying by the hundreds in Israel, not by the 3s or 4s, Does that give Netanyahu, at least in his mind, warrant to use a nuclear weapon, especially on the grounds that, hey, if he does it, wipes out Tehran, he becomes a hero, and when the war is over, maybe stays in power and stays out of jail a bit longer? Thoughts?
Yeah.
I think it's a potential scenario. I don't think it's the most likely one, but I think the negative repercussions of Israel employing a nuke in this scenario are so bad that even should Netanyahu say that's what he wants to do, his advisors in the military will probably do everything they can to talk him out of it.
Well, and especially in Israel, isn't the military actually really considered a separate? I mean, the military is empowered, in fact, commanded by the Constitution to overthrow the government if the government starts, acting authoritarian and all that other stuff. So it's a bit of a different setup. And even in our military, they can refuse illegal orders. So can they refuse? Just say, "Oh, you want to launch a nuclear missile? Aren't you cute?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely something that might happen.
I think Bibi is the one that's crazy enough to actually want to and do it.
Yeah.
And I think he doesn't care about the consequence. Yeah, I don't think he's got he and Trump. The more I see of them, the more I'm like, wow, they really are kind of two peas in a pod in a lot of ways.
You remember that first meeting? Remember that first meeting in the White House during the second term here?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Remember, you see things the way and you say things, and then they always come true. And he had his head so far up Trump's ass that he was talking out of Trump's mouth.
I think both of them aren't like the big picture guys. They're kind of small picture in the moment, but strategy, I don't know. I don't think about the future or yeah.
Okay, so here's a question from Lisa, and it's a good one. So if many countries have nukes, then why can't Iran? Why? Well, we don't like their government, but other countries have bad governments and whatnot as well, and that's that.
I think the real reason is because we consider Iran to be an unstable state where maintaining control of nuclear weapons, should they be in a revolution, becomes a major concern. We had the same kind of concerns when Russia, the Soviet Union broke up. Who gets to maintain control of those nukes? Do they have a responsible enough government? Do they have a capable enough command control structure to prevent these from falling into the hands of non-state actors who could use them for terrorist actions?
Yeah.
I think that's the primary reason we're so worried about Iran getting hold of them.
I actually thought about this question. And I think because Iran would be Russia 2.0, like what Russia is doing now, threatening with nukes, they would have the power because they have nukes and they will use it to threaten whoever they want, really. So
absolutely.
We got another question. Oh, go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
Well, there's one other problem, which is the likelihood of someone using them. I don't think this Ayatollah is actually nearly as religious as he claims to be, but he uses that to allow. But what happens if he gets replaced with someone who truly believes that if they wipe out Israel, they get to go to heaven, even if Israel's allies, the U.S., in turn wipes them out? Right. So when you put nuclear weapons in the hands of religious zealots, and I actually don't necessarily think that the Ayatollah is one, but he has said, if we get a nuclear weapon, we will wipe out Israel. Now, he has to say that, and that plays really well to his base, but he's actually not made any significant efforts in the last 2 years to get a weapon, because I don't think he actually wants to do that. But what happens if he gets replaced with someone who does?
And I think that goes to the fundamental question about what is Iran's governmental structure like, because it's kind of unique. Yeah, it's a parliamentary system, but not really. Iran's military, for example, you can't say that the military backs or does not back the government, because there are three separate militaries, each one of which has its own Air Force and Navy. So, which one is supporting the government and which one isn't? You don't know. It's very, very confused. It's chaos in a bottle.
Yeah. There was a question here from Mexi Girl for you, Commander. Wasn't it 18 or 19 when the Iranian students tried to have the uprising?
Yep. They were very quickly suppressed by the Revolutionary Guard, the Pasandran.
Yeah.
The Pasandran is kind of like almost a separate state within a state in a lot of ways. And it's as much a arm of the government or state within a state as it is a criminal enterprise.
Right.
Most of the illegal activity that goes on inside the Persian Gulf region is run by the Revolutionary Guard.
We have a really good question here from Mark Lael in the chat. Do anyone on the panel have information on the base closing and leave restrictions for the special forces at Camp McCall, NC, I think, North Carolina? It goes, retired I am, but I received the notice. And then it says call in brackets.
I'm certain that if the military has been told to come up with contingency plans, that would be one of the things that they would do. Is put special forces on alert, because they would be the first to go in, not necessarily as a precursor to invasion, but for gathering intelligence, for acting as terminal guidance for aerial bombardments, etc.
Right.
So, yeah, the fact that they're on alert, the fact that we know lots of aircraft have been moved into that region, somebody's definitely considering the possibility that this might go hot.
Yeah. Speaking of which, have you guys heard this report that came out? There's some tracking information statistics company who has figured out that you can track if there's big happenings going in Washington because of fast food deliveries.
Yep.
Yeah, the pizza
deliveries.
Yeah.
That's actually old news.
Yeah.
But they said if you just monitor the pizza delivery joints in the Arlington area, which is near the Pentagon, anytime that those start to spike, it represents the fact that something big is going on and being planned at the Pentagon.
Wow.
And it's also by the time of, so like if all of a sudden they're getting lots of orders at midnight, 2 a.m., that means people are working on something overnight. Yeah. And it's not just, so they have a Twitter account and they keep people up to date on pizza deliveries, but it's called like pizza delivery something, but it's actually, they also monitor like Burger King, McDonald's, they monitor all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's
I'd never heard of
Some
this.
general deciding he's going to issue an order. You can't order pizza if you're working late.
Yeah.
So people just start ordering Chinese or burgers or whatever.
They'll have kitchens installed so you can just order from your own, and then and then they'll have to track the supply companies that supply the kitchens and
Big cafeteria inside.
yeah,
So they could do that, except it's run by private contractors. They have to pay their workers to come in and work extra, which in itself would be another index you could use to monitor alert status.
Exactly. Yeah. Or the companies that supply the kitchens with their, the wholesalers, right? Yeah. There's always a metric because something's going up, right? That's funny. Let's see here. Where are we? Oh, okay, we're only just over an hour. We're not bad here. Nick, what else have you noticed that's on our path of conversation here this week that should be mentioned?
We have to mention, and I know it's not Ukraine, but we have to mention this. I try to mention this every chance I get, because I think one of the things that everybody knows by this point, that really what this is about for Netanyahu is staying in power, but it's about something else. It's about distracting from the fact that he's committing genocide by starving 2.1 million people to death. That is happening right now. And when was the last time you heard about that? Yeah. So because it's 2.1 million, because it's genocide, because it's been recognized as genocide, and because nobody's talking about it, I don't usually go on a show without mentioning it if I can, because and it's nobody's fault. We have limited bandwidth.
Right.
And it's in part deliberate. I think what Bibi's trying to do is stir up enough trouble that by the time, I think he wants all of this to resolve almost simultaneously. So what he's going to do is go for 3 to 6 weeks of crisis with Iran. Then if he can exit that in such a way that he's seen as having accomplished something positive, and then everybody says, wait a minute, where are the Palestinians? There are no Palestinians anymore. What happened to that? We can just take the land, and Bibi's given us the land in the West Bank and Gaza, and we can just take all that now. He comes out as a hero. Israel comes out unified, and sunshine and all that other stuff. And I think that's kind of his goal. And I think in part he's getting away with it right now because people are not thinking about or remembering the fact that 2 weeks ago we weren't talking about any of this. We were talking about 2.1 million people being starved to death, and lure traps being set up where it's like, oh, we're delivering food right here. If people need food, humanitarian aid, oh, there you are, boom.
Yeah.
Anybody who goes for it. So it's sort of like, and these are civilians, these are families, these are children, and it's still happening.
Yeah,
nothing's changed.
Well, it's kind of like Trump's working with them on this too, because Trump's doing everything he can to suppress any support for anything other than Israel.
Yep.
So, I mean, if I'm so-and-so that works at ABC News and I'm kind of directing the content and, playing the big executive producer role or whatever, do I want to obviously have that spear come down on me, the organization, I lose my job, the whole 9 yards? Or do I just steer things so we don't really tell that side of the story as much?
Well, and everybody's going to be more worried about what directly affects them, right? I mean, World War III is a trending hashtag once again. So that means there isn't anybody listening to this who isn't possibly going to be affected by the U.S. dropping a tactical nuclear warhead in Iran. We don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen. So this is something that you can milk for watch hours, advertiser hours, all that other stuff, saying, talking about Ukraine. And somebody mentioned in the live chat, when was the last time somebody mentioned Ukraine? Ukraine is still, it's dropped a couple of rungs, but we're still paying attention to it. The EU is especially still paying attention to it. The Palestinians have dropped out of absolutely every single news loop that I can find. I mean, just dropped, gone.
There's a bit in Canada, but even here it's dropped.
Okay. Yeah. So but then again, if all of them starve to death, well, it's not really going to affect my life all that much. And I say that to say people don't make that calculation consciously, but we all have to find some mechanism by which we sort what we're going to worry about and what we're not, because there's a lot going on. And right now he's getting away with genocide, and at a rate that's going on faster than Ukraine, significantly faster than Ukraine.
I would like to add in there, in this era of doom scrolling and just the next one, and being fed by the algorithm, take a pause and make a conscious decision to make sure these things stay in your sphere.
Yeah. That's why I brought it up. So when you asked, I was like, good. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to depress the living hell out of everybody on the panel, everybody on your live chat, you yourself, and everybody associated with you is going to feel that depression. So let me just, aren't you glad you had me on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me make sure we're still all caught up here. Yeah, looks good.
I was going to say, I think it's also worth noting that the Palestinians haven't just dropped off of our radar. They've dropped off of the Arab world's radar too.
Really?
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Well, when was the last time Iran talked about the Palestinians?
Well, yeah. But Iran isn't Arab. People forget that.
Yeah.
And two, or B, the Arabs, by and large, do not care about or like the Palestinians very much. I mean, there's a pecking order of, within the Arab world of who's considered the most important, and it goes down, and at the very bottom are the Palestinians. So, yeah, and when you realize that, it kind of brings into focus the fact that the Palestinian plight is used by Arab world leaders kind of like, say, China uses Taiwan.
Right.
Or we use immigration. It's the thing to get people distracted and focused on something else. Because I don't get the impression, having lived for substantial periods in the Middle East, that they really give a damn about what the fate of the average Palestinian is.
Sad.
So has Iran's support for Hamas and or Hezbollah been more about the fact that they're fighting Israel than the fact that they believe they deserve? Is that the case?
Yeah, it's again more about being against Israel than it is being pro-Palestine.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, and any aid that was being offered by anyone in the Middle East is, I think everybody there is now just hunkering down.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, I think he froze.
Yeah, I'm having. I had a connection problem with the internet for a second. Not sure why.
Yeah, you're all good now. You're all good now. Oh, I do have a couple of shout outs to catch up with here. Niles G. Knudsen there in the chat gifted out another 10 Shills memberships. That's 20 today, Niles. Huge. Thank you very much, man. Thank you. We love gifted memberships. And Petra Olsen's in for a second one here. Swedish kroners, 129 of them. Don't forget the Ukrainian stolen kids. Good sentiment. I can't believe that we have to actually say that, but it's true. In this day and age, we got somebody acting pretty much like Genghis Khan.
Got more than one.
Yeah, that's true.
I wish we had somebody acting like Genghis Khan instead of like 3 people.
Yeah, and one wannabe.
He's acting like it. He's a wannabe. He was in my 3.
Yeah, okay. Let's see here. There was another thing I wanted to get to here. There's talk of the Russian war economy really coming up against a brick wall pretty soon.
Yep. There's been a lot of speculation that, the Russian economy is on the brink of collapse, or they're going to basically have hyperinflation where their money becomes worthless, etc. I think to some extent those are true, but we also have to consider that Russia is a controlled economy. and the government, at least for internal purposes, can kind of declare just how much things are worth, and that's what they cost.
Right.
So
there is more isolation due to that whole structure, right?
oh yeah. But I think one of the big issues is that for military equipment, they need a lot of outside materials to keep that going. They don't produce some of the component parts for their weapon systems.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to have at least some foreign capital that they can use to buy stuff on the black market.
Yeah.
They do have a considerable amount. One of the things I've always been surprised at, because we know that the Russians have been hoarding dollars for some time, why haven't they released those into the general economy to cause a collapse of the dollar?
Yeah. You know, do you save that for even later, or?
Well, again, that's hard currency still right now. So dumping a lot of it to collapse the dollar is one thing, but hoarding it and using it to finance the war is another.
Mm. Yeah. I guess you got to juggle, like, you know, what's.
Yeah, and that's true pretty much globally, because you go and try to buy something, say, I'm pulling this out of my ass, but you try to buy a plasma screen TV and you offer to pay in local dinars or rupees or whatever, and it's some huge price. But if you say, I can pay in dollars, it drops in some cases to less than half of what you would be paying if it was in the local currency.
Right.
Because they have more trust and faith in the dollar than they do in their own currency.
Wasn't that a part of the point, though, of kicking them out of SWIFT, is that it makes it harder for them to liquidate their dollars should they choose to do so? They can still do it, but if you can slow them down, that's
right.
The pulp. It's the rate at which they do it that causes a collapse, not the quantity so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. There, got it. Had to keep that one muted. Slavie, anything else in the news we should be steering towards and getting around to here?
Putin started to weaponize winter again, which means started again attacking the energy grid, Ukraine's energy grid. There's been 500,000 homes powerless since May. Zelensky requested $2 billion to rebuild the grid before winter starts, before snow. There's not that much time left. I know summer just started, but
yeah,
just definitely a boring situation there right now.
Yeah, I think there was some infrastructure targeted in just that last wave that hit as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's going straight. No military target whatsoever. It's all civilians. It's businesses, civilians, and that's it. Hospitals and he wants to demoralize the civilians.
Definitely, yes, very much. It's so ugly because there's all these modern rules of war that just they're just no, and it like you say, it's completely on purpose. I mean, like we were talking about earlier in the show with the Germans, seeing the German military, seeing the why can't I say it today?
Existential.
Yeah, I just can't get it out of my mouth. But I mean, if everybody would admit that is the case, then everybody would also have to admit that stopping them and pushing them back and restoring Ukraine to how it should be and whatnot is absolutely vital to the entire region over there. And for like us in North America here, this has knock on, I wouldn't even call them ripple effects. We're talking about boulder effects here. Like this is avalanche stuff. It's going to affect everybody. More's got to be done. We got to get back to, all this gung-ho thinking and supplying and stuff that was going down earlier.
That was why NATO was created in the first place, was a recognition of the fact that despite the fact that there's an ocean between us and Europe, it is true that, a butterfly flapping its wings in Europe can cause World War III in the US.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just got to be done, man. The longer it goes on, the more upset I get about that, because if everybody really wanted this to be taken care of, we'd be at that point. I just, drive me crazy, man.
There's a really good question that came through, and it's from Christine McCall is asking, any thoughts on accusations of a Russian spy in the White House, Sergio Gore, or that he hasn't turned in his paperwork for background check?
Well, we know of at least one Russian spy in the White House. He sits in the Oval Office. Beyond that, I'm not entirely sure. Yeah.
I caught the story. It's a Maltese guy. Well, he says he's Maltese, but he's Russian, really. I just caught the story this morning before the live stream, and it's been big because Elon Musk is weighing in on this, as he usually does. Something with so the plot thickens and bum, his usual stuff. But it's been because of that, it's been getting a lot of attention.
He's probably there to make sure they're getting their money's worth.
Trump is in the pocket of Russia, period, end of discussion. How or why is a fascinating thing to talk about. You can get into Deutsche Bank. You can get into, is there compromat on him? He certainly owes Russia a lot of money that they've been forgiving, but without which he'd have stayed in his last 3 bankruptcies.
Yeah.
So you can get into why. There's multiple ways that they've got direct access to him, but he is there. So I don't think that's really up for debate unless Commander or anyone else has anything they think is contrary to that.
So this is the full story. It's Director of White House Office of Presidential Personnel is the one that's suspected of being a Russian spy. Sergio Gore.
Wow.
Appears to be actually Sergei Gorbachev from Saratov, Russia. Investigative journalist Brian Kerb was the one that discovered this damning information.
I mean, they need to get rid of Tulsi Gabbard first to reduce the number of spies in the administration. What they can get rid of this guy, but he's what was his office?
The Director of White House Office.
Yeah. Personnel.
Okay, so Director of Personnel. So he's going to have some access to sensitive data and actually the ability to get data that would possibly blackmail or bribe other people in the White House. But I mean, it's still not Tulsi Gabbard's position. It's still not the president. So.
Yeah. That's hilarious how Tulsi's report was, no, Iran is just not that close. And he was like, nope, she's wrong. That's it. Just, yeah.
And she's like, what I said was taken out of context. How so?
Yeah. Did you mean to say 2 weeks?
What I meant to say was they could start it at any moment again and have it in 2 weeks, even though they haven't since 2003.
Oh, it's funny. That's funny. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm watching the clock here. There is a upcoming function in life in the background here. So I think we've got about 15 minutes as it sits right now. And then I got to get myself ready to go and do a little parenting and have some fun. I hope the rain has stopped. Oh, I hope it's not nasty out. But what are you going to do? We've got a couple of shout outs here. So, Paul Deberitz in the chat there, Norwegian Kroner, 50 of them as well. He's asking, hey, has Janine got enough funds to get the car fixed yet? I am not sure offhand. Annette might know. So we'll probably get an update really soon here. But hey, great shout. And thanks for the question and the super chat as well. And then Niles Knudsen in the chat comes in with a third round of gifting out 10 Shills memberships. That's 30 memberships today. Wow. Huge thanks, Niles. Huge thanks indeed. I just found out that she still needs Janine, that is, still needs $200 in the fund to finish getting the car done. So that's where she is there. So yeah, coming along, getting there. Good. All right. I will check. Remember, fundraiser, Car for Ukraine fundraiser. We'll get the link in for everybody, and straight donations in today are going there as well. So, you know, you can rank up the total right here with us or hit the website direct. I think their notifications to tell us that people have donated have been running a bit slow, because a few people last time said they did, but the total didn't go up until like the next day. So, yeah, it's the internet. What are you going to do? Nothing's perfect, right? Yeah. So, anything else we should cover before it's just, little blah, blah, and we sign off?
We haven't covered the Sume offensive.
Oh, right.
That's to Commander McMillan.
They're attacking. The Russians are attacking. They are making progress, but it's at great cost.
Ukrainians are pushing back, though. Now,
yeah,
Ukraine is getting their land back.
It's back and forth, but generally speaking, they're making progress, but it's costly. It's kind of like it's reminiscent of the fighting we saw in Bakhmut a while back.
Right. Yeah, I heard
was 10-1. Was 10-1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Putin was mentioning it. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, the thing I find amusing is that increasingly the Russians are not using armored personnel carriers or infantry fighting vehicles to bring their troops up to the front lines. They're giving them mopeds and ATVs and such. And while that sounds humorous, it's not being done because they can't afford to lose the APCs and IFVs. It's because it's difficult for the Ukrainian forces or not difficult, but it's less effective for them to use a FPV drone to take out one guy on a moped than it is to use that same, FPV drone to take out an armored personnel carrier with 12 people in it.
Right. That does make sense. Sadly.
Yeah.
But it does admittedly look hilarious when you see film clips of these guys riding their little mopeds up to the war zone.
Yeah. Well, moped's better than a donkey
too. Yeah, horses, donkeys, they've been yeah.
Pretty soon they'll be riding ostriches.
Or the guy who was marching to the front with his crutches.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
Saw that indeed. Crazy.
I mean, if all you're doing is using these people and you send them forward in, groups of 10, 15, just to probe to see where the Ukrainian forces are weak, and once you find that weakness, you send an actual assault in that area.
Yeah.
To them, that makes sense. Who cares if these guys die in a meaningless fashion? We've got lots more people we can throw into the meat grinder.
With that kind of attitude, falling on their own soldiers time and time again, I find it amazing that they can control the narrative in their own country enough that it's not just everybody in the country going, screw you. I am not into this, you know?
Well, that probably is one of the reasons that you're seeing fewer and fewer Russian soldiers released after they complete their contract, because they don't want people going back home and telling stories of what it's really like at the front.
Right. Right.
There's an article that there's cannibalism now between Russians.
Yep.
Not surprised.
Dear Lord.
No.
Wow. I mean, they really are orcs then.
Yes.
Truly.
Holy.
Yeah, I think Ukrainian intelligence service, they intercepted a call and some orc was saying, like, you wouldn't believe this. Vanya ate his partner. Like, yeah.
Wow.
By the way, last week it's 1 million casualties of orcs less, but that's quite the number. And as far as I understand, Russia is having a hard time keeping that number, away from people, but it's quite the number. I mean, casualties, that's people missing or dead.
Yeah. There's before we're done here, there's a question here from Daughter of Texas. Did you hear about the 4 big tech guys sworn in Lieutenant Colonel June 13th? No basic training in AIT and no PT. This is a big no for me.
It's not that unusual. It's called a direct commission. Typically, it's used for people in a medical course. So you get some surgeon who's highly qualified that says, yeah, I'm willing to join the military. And they don't go through any particular training or anything. They've already got an established record and they get a commission to lieutenant colonel or full bird colonel. I've seen that straight in.
Right.
But that's for a very limited number of activities.
Right.
Medical corps.
Yeah, for people like Alan Alda.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm laughing, but yeah, that's true. If you think of that situation, it's very true. The issue comes when you start giving people those direct commissions, not because they're necessarily competent in their fields, but because you're doing it as a form of political payola. You're bringing them in to act as your specific agent and compromise, military files so that you can sell them on the black market. No, that couldn't possibly be Tulsi Gabbard.
That's funny. Okay, here. So I'm just looking at the time, and we should probably get into wrap-ups mode because I have to slip back into parental adulting-like behaviors pretty quick here. Slavie, do you want to take us around? And
yeah, why don't we go to Commander McMillan? What are your final thoughts?
2 weeks, people. 2 weeks. We'll know what's going to happen in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Joking aside, my standard statement when we wrap up every week is, please remember to keep those phone calls, cards, texts, messages, letters, etc., going to your elected officials to tell them Ukraine is important to you, and hopefully also tell them stay out of Iran.
Yeah.
I mean, only 18% support going in, so it's not a very popular decision.
Yeah, but you need to apply that pressure to get people to push it up the chain so that people at the higher levels know there is no popular support for doing this. Don't do it. You're going to aggravate folks.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Rudy from Rudy's Reaction, any final thoughts? And by the way, guys, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share. That really helps use your social currency.
Yeah, yeah, there's just so much crazy stuff that's going on. So, I mean, it's been hard to keep up with everything that's going on. But yeah, I mean, it was great being on today, and I'm sure there'll be something crazy that we're gonna end up talking about next week or something. But yeah, just stay safe out there.
Absolutely. Nick, any final thoughts?
Yeah, my name is Nick. My show is In Time. It's youtube.com/In Time Show. We're a news show. We do a lot of the sort of the same things as the Shills. So there's some overlap, but as far as what's going on, it can be overwhelming, I think, for people to constantly see this and then they don't want to get informed. It's so much easier to sit back and watch Rick and Morty on television or do whatever. And I think staying informed is the only thing that fixes these things, because if people don't know what's going on in Ukraine or in Iran, then they can't vote for people who can, and they can't make pressure to make the right decisions. So really practice good mental health. Remember to spend time with your families, as Dick is demonstrating here, and remember that there are things that are important. And for those of you who are starting to get afraid because World War III is now trending as a hashtag yet again, that thing, World War III has trended as a hashtag 3 times a year since Twitter was born. And we go through scary periods, but just take a breath, stay informed, but also go outside, get some air, and be with your family. Do both.
Good
Absolutely. Touch grass.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to say massive thanks to our mods on all the channels, the crew, panel, and every pro-Ukrainian freedom fighter in the chat. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Shills, Channel Yarochenko, Rudy's Reaction, Nick with In Time channel. It really helps because algorithms are now burying Ukraine, and your clicks are our air defense. So yeah, information space is the first trench, and when we lose narrative online, we lose ground on the battlefield. Remember that this war will not fade on its own. Ukraine is holding the line against the axis of evil's engine room, Russia. So your voice, your post, your call to Congress turns apathy into action and keeps freedom's momentum alive. Supporting Ukraine isn't charity, it's strategic self-defense. Stand up, speak out, and help crush this aggression before it metastasizes. Do it for your children, for the next generation who deserve to thank us in a language that's still free to speak. On that note, God bless America and Slava Ukraini. And I'm going to give it to Dick. Over to you.
Yeah, big shout out to the team around here. Annette, Shayna, Chris, Alchemist, Mexi Girl, Liam, Janine, and Super Chat Matt. Without the team, you're looking pretty lean. You got to have your team, and we got a great one. We've got a pub chat hangout going tomorrow, probably be around 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Watch for it to pop up. We'll be talking about all kinds of crazy stuff. And like has been said, make sure your local, regional, and national politicians know you want support for Ukraine, and use everything you can when you're online to spread the word and keep it in everybody's ears. Slavie Ukraine, everybody.
Heroям Slava.
Well said.
It's over. Go home. Go.